What's the purpose of customer surveys? Is it to measure the whole process that the customer goes through? Is it to measure single parts of the process? Is it to measure how the customer's feeling? It's a really important question and a difficult one to answer, but it is not what a lot of us use it for. Customer surveys do not measure your customer service. I'll say that again. Customer surveys do not measure your customer service. Your customer service is made up of a whole bunch of things. It's the greeting, it's the presentation of the store, it's how the products were presented, it's how the customers were treated, the questioning, the answering, the needs, the benefits analysis, the closing of the sale, the upsell. It's all of those things and the farewell. What the customer's going to look at is how they felt when they were going through their service experience. They're going to talk about how that other person presented themselves. Did they connect with them? They're all very important things, but they're not going to tell you about whether or not your staff tried to close the sale. They're not going to tell you about whether or not your staff tried to upsell the belt or the shoes or the socks to go with the shoes. They won't tell you about any of that because that stuff is invisible to them. What they're going to talk about is how they felt leaving the store. Now, you may think that, oh, well, they'll feel better if you don't try to sell them anything. Well, that's not the case either, because people don't go to stores just to browse around and waste their time anymore these days. They'll do that online. People go to stores to buy things. People don't go to a fast food outlet just to hang out. Well, some teenagers do, but most people don't. Most people go there to get their food and get out again. So if you ask a customer what they thought it was important, they will tell you what they thought was important, but that might not be what was important to you. Sure, you want to keep the customer happy, but you want to overlay these other things on top of it. That's why you have to be really careful when you're taking your customer service pulse through surveys, not to extrapolate that out and say, well, therefore our customer service is doing well or poorly. You're measuring two very different things. One's measuring the pulse or the feeling of the customer, and they may be invisible to what's actually going on in the background, and the other measures processes. The customer doesn't sometimes also know why it is they're actually there. They don't know what makes them happy. They think it's one thing, but it's actually another. They think they go to your store because it's the cheapest, but they might actually be going to your store because it's the most convenient. There are lots of different things that are going on in a consumer's mind that they don't even know of because it's happening in their subconscious. So when you ask them, you're going to get the answer for what their conscious mind thinks, not even what their whole of mind thinks. So a customer survey, it doesn't measure your process and it doesn't measure the totality of what's going on in a customer's mind. So be very, very careful of them and don't stretch this bow so far that it breaks. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Stephen DiPietro.